Are you like most sales and other professionals who want to grow their wealth faster than what they are currently doing through their company 401k, even with that company match, the stock market, or just plain saving money? Would you sleep better at night if you had the financial freedom to be job optional in just 3 to 5 years through investing in real assets? Maybe you don't want to stop working, but wouldn't it be cool if you could retire a decade earlier than most and do the traveling you and your family have planned for years while you're still young and can enjoy it? Let's face it, most busy professionals don't have the time or desire to take on more work outside of their W-2 to grow their wealth. On The Wealth Flow, each week we share the stories, the investments, and take a deep dive into the various asset classes that can deliver that accelerated growth to your portfolio passively. That's right, no extra work for you. Instead, we'll put your money to work. Learn what the 95% aren't talking about and join the top 5% of earners today on The Wealth Flow.
Welcome to The Wealth Flow. My guest today is Jay Ullrich. He is a dynamic entrepreneur with a multifaceted background. Initially, he built his career as a civil engineer and then transitioned into real estate sector by building a successful property management business from the ground up. Recognizing the potential of the technology and transforming industries, Jay's ventured into the software arena, aiming to revolutionize the short-term rental market. His latest venture, HostBuddy AI, has emerged as a leading AI messaging solution for STR hosts. Jay's impact on the STR industry shines through his mission to help hosts save time and money by offering an efficient and effective alternative to traditional guest support. Jay, welcome to The Wealth Flow.
Thanks so much, Keith. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about the AI and the software that you've done, but I want to maybe start with, just kind of where you grew up and what eventually led you to real estate. It sounds like you kind of cut your teeth on the short-term rental side of things. So if you could give us some background.
Yeah, of course. So I actually grew up on the East Coast. I'm from Maryland. So that's where I spent most of my childhood. When I was younger, I had a lot of interest in going into the engineering field, and that's the path that I sort of set myself on. So got interested in civil engineering, went to college for that out in California at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, got my degree in 2019. And then from there, went on my path as a civil engineer. I enjoyed the work. I think the lifestyle is something that I had a hard time adjusting to. I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so there's been a few small businesses that I've started over the years, but nothing that I could feel, secure in and could take off that way. So one of the ventures that I experienced when I think it was back in 2020 was I considered a property management business. And that was sort of, with the growth of the Airbnb short-term rental industry, it seemed like a great time to begin renting out apartments, homes. I live in San Diego now, so it's a beautiful place for tourism. A lot of people come to visit, and it paired really well with the potential business idea of starting a property management business.
Okay. And property management, obviously, I think sometimes long-term rental, but it sounds like it was maybe focused more towards short-term rental. Can you tell us a little bit about, kind of what you did there?
Yeah, definitely. So, and it's a common thing that we get. I think we sort of phrase our company as a property management business just because we really are full service, and there's a lot of different ways for you to enter into the short-term rental space. So for one, you can start as doing a strategy called rental arbitrage, which is where you rent out an apartment or some sort of property on a monthly basis from a landlord or owner, and then from there you're essentially a tenant on the lease, but you begin renting onto sites like Airbnb and Vrbo to short-term rental guests. So that's a way to sort of get your initial experience. A lot of people still do that today. We have a few rental arbitrage deals. Another way that you can get involved in the short-term rental space is by co-hosting. So really just going to somebody who already has an Airbnb and asking to manage it for them. And what we really wanted to do with our business is have a legitimized full service property management business so that the owner can come to us and say, here's my property. How do we make it run? And how do I maximize my rental income? So that's really what we do. And with our business, I mean, we tell our owners that if you do really want to maximize your rental income, this is the best way to do it. Short-term rentals is, a tried and true method to achieving the most income for your rentals. So that's what we do now. We manage all the maintenance, operations, cleanings, do all the guest communication. We partner with furnishing companies, interior designers. And so all of that basically comes together into the property management realm that we call our business.
Okay. And no, it's a great way to definitely get started in that. So you said, do you still have some of the ones that you manage as a property management company where they're actually doing the arbitrage on it?
Yeah, and so that's kind of how we got started with it too. It's a lot easier to enter with no experience when you're telling the landlord, hey, I'll give you exactly what you're asking for. Say it's $3,000 a month, and then if you're able to rent it for more than $100 per night, so that's 30 nights per month, $100 per night, $3,000. If you can rent it more than $100 per night, then you're making money. So if you can run your numbers and you feel like that's something that you can do, it's a really great strategy. I would say in the off season, which San Diego doesn't really have too much of an off season, but more so in the winter when it's less traveled, you can get really close to not making those payments. So we wanted to sort of pivot into doing the property management style because essentially the way that it's set up is you charge a management fee just like any other property management company. For short-term rentals, it's typically something like 20% that you'll be asking from the owner. So it's a lot more lucrative than doing general property management, and you can have 30 or 40 units and still make a lot of money. So I think right now we have, I want to say, maybe 15 of them are rental arbitrage, and then the other 20 or so are under management fee. So a lot of our beginning properties were rental arbitrage.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great way to get into the market and get into short-term rentals. Period, and especially in a market where the house pricing is pretty darn expensive. So San Diego is known for having some high prices. And,
yeah, definitely.
So are these in? Tell me a little bit maybe about in San Diego. What are are there restrictions on short-term rentals? Are there only certain areas that are permitting them? Or tell me a little bit about what the landscape looks like from that standpoint.
Yeah, and that's a great question because when I started my property management business in 2021, there were no regulations within San Diego for short-term rentals. So I believe you had to get a transient occupancy tax, which is just a tax that you pay. It's about 10.5% to the city for anyone who's staying less than 30 days. And that was the initial expectation or requirement. And then at the end of 2022, they released their short-term rental ordinance, which said that anyone who wanted to operate a short-term rental in San Diego, California needed a license. And there are a few different tiers of licenses depending on your location and the style of renting that you wanted to do, which meant all of our existing properties needed to be licensed. So it was a little stressful. The way that they proposed it was, there's about 16,000 Airbnbs in San Diego City, and they wanted to bring it down to about 5,000 or 6,000. So it really cut it down by a huge chunk. And their goal was to make sure that no more than 1% of the total population in the city of San Diego was a short-term rental. And their estimate was that it was a little over 3%. So that was their mission. Once the licensing came into play in May of 2023, they found that a lot fewer hosts actually applied for it. And so they were left with a surplus of available licenses, which is great for us, which means we can continue to expand freely and scale our business and continue to get licenses because they're still available. But, there are a lot of people that either decided to just stop renting out their Airbnb because there was a lot of chatter around it. Like, are we really even going to get a license, like, is it even worth going? It's $1,000 to get a license. And that's just to apply. And then, if you get accepted, it's accepted or not, it's not up to you. So it was kind of tough for some people who maybe hosts weren't making enough money. We're like, it's not worth it. Let's just convert it to a midterm rental or a long-term rental. For us, we're like, let's do it. Let's apply it for everything. And it worked out. So, I love the fact that there are licenses in San Diego just because it prevents other people from coming into the market as easily. Mm-hmm. So the supply is kind of kept at a cap. And, it makes it, easier for us to make sure that we have less competition. But we've definitely had to make our practices a little bit more competitive and focus on our systems and making sure our costs are low. So we have a lot of tools that we use, and we've developed our systems really well over the past few years to make sure that we're maximizing that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so is it that set amount and it just sort of grows slowly with the population growth? In other words, it sounds like there may still be some, once you have one, or do you have to reapply every year? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's every 2 years you are going to have to reapply. It sounds like essentially if you do have a license already, you're essentially guaranteed one for that next tier. So I believe next year we'll need to apply for licenses again. But there's a 7-year sunset clause on the short-term rental ordinance. So essentially this is how it's going to run for the next 7 years until they decide to make it any different. And I'm not sure how they're changing the supply quantity when it comes to that, or if they're increasing it and allowing more each year. But their initial goal was to keep it at that 1% of the total population, or the total housing quantity.
Yeah. Okay. That's neat. And good for you. You've got the licenses in place, and like you said, exactly. It just makes the barrier of entry for competitors a little bit more difficult. Mm-hmm. Maybe Jay, obviously you built, we were talking a little bit ahead of the show as to, where you started and kind of how big your business has gotten with how many you're managing. And you've grown, pretty significantly. What are some of the things that you've learned when it comes to property management? I'd be curious also to just know, what types of softwares and if that's changed as you've grown as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main reason why my company Select Stays is successful is because we've been able to implement new technology as it comes along. And it really is a big learning experience. When I first started, I remember my first Airbnb, I had no idea what I was doing. I saw an ad or something online where somebody had done it. And I was like, oh, it's that easy just to go and rent out an apartment. Let me just give it a try, because I can spend a few $1,000s if it doesn't work. It's not the end of the world. But I'll learn along the way. And so that was my approach. And I remember me and my business partner, Sam, would take turns going to the property at lunch at our W-2 day jobs to go and clean it whenever it was needed to be cleaned. And we were just figuring it out as we went along. So our first thing, I think a few months down, was finding a cleaner, because we figured out we were making enough money to actually afford that. Finding a system to manage the cleaners so that the Airbnb bookings would go straight into the system, and then they would go to the cleaners, and the cleaners would see that, and they can go to the property on the correct day. From there, it was really just trying to scale and figure out what specific experiences for the Airbnb guests were effective. Providing little welcome documents in person, making sure there's a water filter at the apartment, because a lot of them that we initially rented didn't have clean water, and we didn't, necessarily think that was something that we needed to put in there. But when you think about, like, would you want to put your family in there, and would you feel like this is a special experience? That's really what we needed to focus in on, rather than just having an Airbnb and just renting it out. It was really about the guest experience, and I think that's been the most important part for us, is maintaining the guest experience, and making sure that, you're giving them, a moment that they can share with their family and their friends that they'll want to come back and stay with you again. And then the other thing is just, like I said, developing your business with the new technology that releases. So there's a tool called Price Labs that we use for dynamic pricing, and that allows your listings to maintain the same price depending on demand, local demand, events, time of year, everything like that. So you don't have to necessarily manage your pricing yourself. It's just controlled for you. There's some parameters in there where you can go and change certain things, but that helped a ton. Making sure that our access was really easy. So having lock boxes, having keypads. There's some technology that we have connected now where it's all connected through Airbnb. Once a guest books, it'll pull that guest profile in and scrape the guest data to find their name and then their phone number. And it'll use the last 4 digits of their phone number to set the code for the lockbox or the keypad. So all of that's automated for us. It's really been about automation. And in order for us to continue scaling, we needed to have these automations in place to allow us to do our job and focus on acquisition. So along the way, there's been a ton of different tools. Our most recent one now is actually our own product, which is HostBuddy AI. So it's an AI messaging tool for short-term rental hosts, which connects directly into your property management system, which is actually another tool that a lot of hosts use when they have multiple properties. The property management system essentially just pulls all of your inboxes into one and allows you to message guests through a unified inbox and control all the pricing from the same place and all that. So the AI messaging tool that we created, HostBuddy AI, has allowed us to limit our expenses and make sure that our guests are taken care of overnight. So instead of paying, over $10 an hour for a virtual assistant to give you coverage overnight, we have HostBuddy AI able to take care of our guests and make sure that they're getting into the property and that they're taken care of. And we've designed it to really be, really conversational, sound exactly like an Airbnb host would. And that was really important for us as a property management company to make sure that it was an effective tool. So we've seen our reviews increase since we implemented that into our company. People will message. Actually, just last night, we had somebody that messaged us saying, "Hey, the code's not working." And we do our best to make sure our technology is operating properly, but every once in a while, you'll have a keypad that malfunctions, the code doesn't get sent through, or the battery dies, or something like that. And we do set up backup lock boxes to our units, but that information is only provided if the guest is having issues and we need to give them that. So HostBuddy last night was able to let a guest in by giving them that additional information and ensure that they access the unit properly. So we have instances like that. We also have, people asking to, how do you use the AC really late at night? It's so hot in San Diego. And we're like, well, it's 11 p.m. I'm asleep. Who's going to respond to you? And so we have AI do our responses for us, and it's been a huge help.
Yeah, that's well. First of all, I can see how that would be. What type of property management software are you using, and what platform are you using for?
So what I use for select stays is a platform called Hostfully. And so there are several, there are a lot of property management systems. It seems like there's hundreds. Every day somebody's messaging me like, do you integrate with this? Do you integrate with that? I'm like, oh, actually I haven't heard of that, but yeah, I'm sure we can integrate. And initially we partnered with a third-party integration software that allowed us to get access to all these different property management systems. We call them PMSs. So there's Hostfully, HostAway, Lodgify, Guesty, Hospitable, OwnerRez. There's a lot of different property management systems. So the more people you talk to within the short-term rental space, the more products you'll hear and the different tools. It essentially all does the same thing, and unifies your inbox and makes it easy to manage everything all in one place. So that's sort of where our target audience has been for HostBuddy AI. Once you get to a certain property count, you really do feel the need for that additional guest coverage. Either that, or if you're just trying to cut down expenses entirely, you can replace some of your current staff with AI. And I tell people that's not really our primary objective. We want to make sure that we're not, replacing that human touch aspect of short-term rentals, because it's always been so, core to the hospitality industry, is just having that really important guest support. And so we perfected our product in a way where it's not just going to give you a bunch of random gibberish or random just answers. Like, ChatGPT will sometimes give you like just a huge list of answers, and we wanted to make sure it was conversational and sounded like a host and all that. So that's mainly been our goal.
And are those sent through text, or how is it communicate? Text, email? What is the communication with the AI look like?
Yeah, so the AI will read the guest message and then communicate directly through their property management system, which will push the message out to whichever channel the guest booked on. So, for example, Verbo, Airbnb, Google Stays is now another channel that is becoming popular. Booking.com, Expedia. There's a lot of different channels that all connected to your property management system. So, regardless of how a guest books, they're communicating through your property management system, and they're receiving the message from HostBuddy into their channel that they booked in. And so if there's ever any issue, the AI will read that as well. As say a guest is like, I need more towels or something. I don't have enough towels. Obviously, an AI assistant can't go and drop off towels for you, but that will get marked in the conversation, and you can either get a text or an email as a user, so that your property management team can make sure they're staying on top of those issues.
Okay, no, that's neat. And how does I mean, like for instance, the example that you gave where they were having trouble getting in, that seems like a pretty common one. The air conditioning, not being able to work that. Are these things that the host is having to go in advance and kind of say, okay, here are some very common things, and here, create the response for these, or how does that work exactly?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's been really cool building the product, because even since we started the business in September of last year, um, AI has developed and improved alongside of us. So as AI improves and they release new models and new intelligent models, our product will improve as well. But the main way that it works is it'll pull in all of your guest reservation data from your property management system. It'll pull in all of your property data. And then if you provide your guests with a welcome document in the form of like a PDF or a TXT file, you can upload that. And so there's basically this big database that we call the property profile within HostBuddy. And that's what it uses to communicate with the guests. So basically, like, our secret sauce is the way that we developed the prompt for our AI model. So there's a lot that goes into, like, for example, if you're using ChatGPT and you say, I'm an Airbnb host, tell me a good response for I need more towels. It might respond with like all these different things, like, here's where you can buy more towels. Here's where you might be able to find some towels. Here's all these different things. We took a lot of time creating a very long prompt, did a lot of, research on prompt engineering on how to make sure that we can make the most effective tool, and it was going to sound like a, human being. So that's basically like the recipe that goes into the AI model. And then the data that it's fed is consisting of the data that's pulled in from your property management system. We also just implemented a feature where it'll read past conversations, and then it'll, understand previous messages that you've sent to guests and take that information and then be able to provide that to future guests. We're working on a feature that will basically mirror the tone of your previous messages. So if there's a certain dialect that you speak in, or, just a certain language that you include typically in your messages, then you can turn that on and it would respond just as you would. So there's a lot of customization that goes into it, but we made it a really easy process for users by just having that autofill that comes directly from the property management system, so that that all of that conversation data is collected. It's all being used. You don't need to go through and add your individual little instructions for everything. HostBuddy is going to understand that immediately and be able to use that for the guests.
Okay. And who is your avatar as far as the customer? Is it somebody who has several properties? Is it somebody that has maybe one property? Where is the kind of the sweet spot as to where this product would fit in?
Yeah, so initially when we launched the product, we were really just catering to everyone. And it's a product that can be integrated with a lot of different property management companies, depending on where you're at. The benefit to HostBuddy, and I would say the most advantage that you get out of it, is if you use a property management system, then you're able to integrate directly and it'll send messages to your guests through your inbox. If you don't use a property management system, you can provide them with an external link. But Airbnb and Vrbo and Google, they don't allow you direct access to messaging APIs. So you can't get direct access into Airbnb unless you're using a property management system. And what I recommend is if somebody has a few rentals, it's usually best, once we say about the 5 property count is a good spot for them to start using AI. And right around that same time is when people start considering property management systems, because you have 4 or 5 properties, and now you have a listing on Airbnb and Vrbo and Google and Expedia. So there's like 5 or 6 different channels for each listing. So now you have 20, 30 listings out there that you're all trying to control at the same time. And that's the advantage of having a property management system is, it's all kept in the same place. And so we're targeting users that have property management systems, kind of like the hosts that are in the up, basically in scale mode of their first phase of like scaling past 5 properties. We've also had conversations with some companies that have 100, 200. Talked to one company that had 500 properties, and their main thing was that they really just wanted to make sure that they can connect their property management system immediately and just have all of their data available and make sure that HostBuddy can immediately respond to their guests. And that was a big focus of ours when we had those conversations with the bigger property management company. So now our product does all of that, and we can really focus on making sure that we cater to basically every size. We found that our real sweet spot right now is around 10 to 50 property managers. So that just seems like a really good spot where people are looking to implement new products, save on costs. Maybe they scaled a little bit too fast and they're like, okay, now I'm responding to messages at midnight and this is getting kind of crazy. I need some help. So that's where we step in and we're able to kind of help them that way.
Okay. And from a cost standpoint, is it by property, or tell me a little bit about what something like this, if somebody wanted to integrate this into what they do, what does that look like? Is it based on the number of properties, or?
It is, yeah. So it's based on number of listings. So if you set up a property management system, typically, every property is typically one listing, but sometimes people will split up a big property into multiple listings. But for, the purpose of explanation, I would just say it's, per property count is how we charge, but it's essentially it's super inexpensive. It starts at $3.50 per property per month. And so let's say you have, 10 properties, that's around $30. It's not a huge investment for somebody when you can justify, let's say like the circumstance where last night I had that guest who was like, I can't get in, the code isn't working. If we had an instance where, everybody was asleep and we didn't have anybody covering that, we would have had to refund that entire reservation because unfortunately our technology failed. And so that would have been $300, $400, $500, depending on what stay they're at. Could be $1,000 plus. Instead of having to pay over that refund, you can have that additional support for $3.50 per property per month. So that's kind of how we start. We have a couple different plans because when we first started selling, we realized that a lot of hosts just wanted that nighttime coverage, which is great. So we split it up into a 12-hour max plan and then a 24-hour plan. So the 12 hours what starts at $350, and then it goes up, I think, to $450, depending on your property count. So if you have one property, I think it's at $5.50. And then our other plan starts at $5 if you have 50 to 100 properties, $6 if it's 11 to 50, and then under 10, you have the $7 plan. So it's still all, super affordable, especially compared to a lot of different softwares out there. Price Labs itself is $20 per listing. So when you think about it from that standpoint, it's we definitely wanted to provide a really inexpensive tool for people off the bat. I'm sure it'll increase in price over time, but I think right now it's really important for people to just gain that trust in AI and just feel like it's not, a major investment and kind of allow them to enter that field without feeling kind of scared to have that investment in there.
Yeah, for sure. So let's say like the nighttime coverage one, is there any settings or anything you need to set up? Well, I guess in other words, how easy is it to integrate into you being able to use it as a is it just plug and play? You subscribe to it and boom, you're off to the races, or is there some integration that needs to happen?
Yeah, if you already have a property management system set up with your company, it's essentially an instantaneous onboarding. So you connect your property management system after you create your account, and then you hit import properties. It pulls in all of your properties, and then you'll hit the autofill button, and it'll go and fill out all of the information for you. So essentially, right after that moment, you're ready to go, and you can go and schedule it. So we have a scheduling feature on the website that allows you to pick your shifts. For my company in particular, we have 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. is our coverage across the board. So that's when HostBuddy turns on for all of our reservation stages. You can choose to have it only respond to your current guests that are staying in your properties and not respond to any potential inquiries that come in or future guests. So there's a lot of customization that comes to it, but essentially right when you plug it all in, it's going to be responding to your guests as soon as you schedule. So it's super easy. It takes a matter of a few minutes, regardless of the number of properties that you have.
Okay. And what kind of feedback are you getting from your customers? I know you mentioned, seeing some increases in the ratings as far as the people, staying at the Airbnbs and the short-term rentals, I guess would be a better way of saying it. But what kind of feedback are you getting with how the product's working?
Yeah, we've gotten some really great feedback from our users so far. We went through probably a 4 or 5 month testing process back in, I want to say January through May, before we finally launched the product in May. And so we've gotten a lot of customers since then. And I think our main thing is we've just heard from a lot of our customers that they're just so happy that they can sleep peacefully knowing that their guests are taken care of. And that's the big thing right now. I think once we move into the next few months, since we've been launched for about 2 months now, moving into month 3, month 4, we're going to start to hear a lot back about the long-term impact on the experience that their guests are receiving and how their reviews are increasing, and they're going to start seeing that data increase. So we're really excited to hear that feedback because I know that it's been a tremendous help for our own business. So at the moment, it's really just been a lot of I was really impressed with the way that HostBuddy responded to this guest. I didn't know that it knew how to troubleshoot this type of thing because, our HostBuddy will essentially use any worldly knowledge. I wouldn't say it'll take anything from the internet because not everything on the internet is true. But it'll take worldly knowledge on troubleshooting and, how to fix the AC, how to work the TV. Like if someone's asking how to work the Roku TV, it's going to give you information on how to operate a Roku TV, even if you haven't given that information to it. So it's pretty great. And every day there's another instance that we see of somebody who's like, wow, like I can't believe that it actually responded this way. Where like we haven't even seen it respond that way before, just because we haven't had every single instance of a guest experience. But we did make sure that all the core belief was there that if we're going to make a product that's going to replace the human touch, then we need to keep that the customer service aspect of it. So it's been really great hearing all the responses from people so far.
So let's talk maybe a little bit more about first of all, it sounds like an amazing. We have one STR. We have a PMS system as well. We use NRES and. Cool. The nighttime piece of the puzzle is always a little bit, I'll often stay up later to just make sure that people checked in okay. We too have a lock box in case, the keypad doesn't work or whatever it may be. But that's usually, me having to kind of make sure. And, who knows, if so. You have people coming in and out. It's like, okay, if you don't remember to stay up that particular night, I might be, asleep, and you got somebody that can't get in.
Yeah.
then what? And so I can see a lot of, and then just and it's responding through your PMS system. So, even from like response rate and stuff, I would assume that, a lot of that stuff's going to improve as well. And
Yeah.
I don't know, we respond, I haven't had a problem with, us not responding quick enough. But I know some other people have where, that can affect your placement. It can affect all kinds of things when it comes to, Airbnb and Vrbo. So I would think it would help with that as well, just your responsiveness.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point too. It responds within a minute. The only delay that it has is based on the connection that it has with the property management system. A lot of times when they have messaging integrations, they have a 1 minute delay, an intentional 1 minute delay, just to collect all the data before sending the message. And that's, I mean, I wouldn't say it's instant because it's not a half second, but it's a minute compared to, maybe a few minutes that it takes you to type out a full response to any number of issues. So yeah, your average response time is going to go down, and in turn your customer reviews are going to go up. So, and a lot of times I find that guests really just want to be heard, and they want to feel like
Right.
they're supported, especially late at night. If they're having any sort of issue, if you're not there to respond to them, it becomes, a hospitality concern to them, where they feel like they're not being taken care of well. So
Yeah, that's a good point. So, so you started kind of in the arbitrage space. You built this, business up, and now you've started a software. So, Jay, tell me about that. I mean, about that, just the personal journey with that. I mean, what led you to say, gee, what we really need is we need an AI software, and then how does one go about creating that?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I'd love to share the story. So I think around this time last year, actually, we were looking at ways to, enhance our guest support while still, not spending a ton of money. And we were like, oh, we use AI every day. There must be some sort of tool that we can integrate with our property management system that can support our guests. We looked all around, we couldn't find anything. And I think at the beginning of last year was I want to say it's when GPT-4 was released. So one of the newer models of ChatGPT. And we were super impressed with how that was able to handle a lot of our questions. And we use it every day. We have our virtual assistants using it within our company. And so around that time, we're like, there needs to be a way, but we couldn't find anything. And, we, it was kind of a funny situation because we have no software experience, and we were like, we know that there is a potential with this, and we know that if we need this as a company, it's pretty likely that other hosts are going to want this as well. And coincidentally, our friend had just stepped away from his job as a software engineer at Qualcomm, and we decided to team up with him. We came to him with the idea. He doesn't know the short-term rental space at all, but we do. But we told him, this is a product that could be in very high demand in the next few years with the development of AI, and this would be a great opportunity for us. So we teamed up with him, and we said, how hard would it be to create this product? And he was like, oh, it wouldn't be hard at all. And we're like, really? He was like, no, it'd be easy. And creating the website would be the harder part. So that's kind of how we got started. We created what we ended up calling Host Buddy software, and so we started testing it, just like how it would respond to normal questions. It was doing really well at the beginning, but there were still some areas where we needed improvement. So we continued to improve it. At the same time, we had a web developer that we hired overseas to develop our entire website. We had a vision for what we wanted it to look like. And then along the way, we just basically, my role within HostBuddy has been designing the user interface. And so I go into Canva and I'll just draw up, this is what I want it to look like. And it looks good, but it's not functional. And so I send it over to our tech lead, and they send it to the web developer, and they're able to implement it into the website and make it a real thing. So it's really been a really cool process, and just entering into the software space has been completely new for me. We're users of software, but as far as the development side of it, there's a bunch of terms that I still don't understand. I'm so lucky that I have a software developer on our team working in-house that's able to make changes, because every day there's one little thing where like, oh, maybe we could change this. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And so I think it just came down to, having that attitude of, why not us? We can do this. We can create this product. We have the resources. We know that we believe in the direction that we want to take this company, and why can't we be the people to start that? So that's kind of the attitude that we've taken throughout the entire thing. And from September until May was basically our really, really in-depth product development time. And now we're at a point where it's released. We're still developing our product in small ways just to make it easier for users, have additional integrations and all that. But yeah, as a civil engineer and property manager, it wasn't something that came really simple to me. So yeah, it's been super fun just learning all this and knowing that I have somebody else on my team that can kind of take care of the technical questions.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's awesome. You saw a need, and there wasn't an existing solution out there, and that's how some of the best companies are born. So that's awesome. What is your vision for for your company moving forward for Host Buddy specifically, and from a sales standpoint, what are you doing to get the word out?
So we are essentially right now we're doing a lot of outreach directly to the users or potential users. So we're reaching out to people over email, LinkedIn, and I think a place that we found a lot of success is going to short-term rental conferences. So we went to our first one recently. It was actually in San Diego, and it was great to just be in front of a lot of people that knew the short-term rental space and understood the need for AI, and were super receptive to the idea. And there's so many people that are just very excited to implement it. So it's really cool being able to meet all these new hosts and be able to solve their problem that they've been considering in the back of their mind for a while. Like, I have to be able to use AI, and then we come to them with a solution. They're like, wow, that's absolutely incredible. And then they get on the website and they're like, this is beautiful. It's easy to use. So yeah, that's been our main way of sales. I would say our other way is just going through the property management systems as a direct partnership. So as of today, July 19th, we just officially announced our partnership with HostAway, which is one of the leading property management systems. And so they just posted on their Instagram and sent out an announcement email today that we will be an official partner, which is awesome. And so we're kind of working backwards within those integrations to have official partnerships. And that way, when a user of a property management system goes into their marketplace and sees all the integrations that are available, they'll see our name. We'll provide them an additional discount for being a user of that PMS, and then work from there. We have a contract right now that's going into place with Ullrich, so that partnership should be out here pretty soon. And then we're kind of just working from there, knocking down all the PMSs and getting those partnerships out. So it's really great once the property management system, the tech team sees our product and we're able to show them the use cases. They're usually immediately on board because this is great. This can add a lot of value to our customers. So it's been really cool talking to them that way. The way I see our company going in the future is, once we have all these integrations established, we'll be able to, be the premier AI solution for all the property managers out there. So we'll just keep growing as much as we can and keep spreading the word. Right now is an interesting time because we are in an era of a lot of tech advancement, especially within AI, and a lot of people are hesitant to implement AI into their business and hesitant to give that control away when they're used to being the one point of contact. And so it's really just been about educating people on how effective our product can be as well. And I think there will be a tipping point too, where people, the general public begins to accept that AI can be, a part of a major tool that can improve their lives. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, like I said, right now it's just been a lot of direct outreach and getting in with the right companies and the right people and just spreading the word about it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and hopefully we'll be able to do that as well, just with this conversation here today. But that's fantastic. Can't wait to have it available for Ullrich because that's what we use. But and I can see even beyond the short-term rental. As you're explaining this, And we've got tenants that, call and, if it's during the day, it's not a big deal. But, at night is sometimes when the emergencies happen. And,
Yeah.
so to be able to troubleshoot some of that stuff and kind of have something automated where they feel like something's happening, can be good. And so that's just really cool that you guys have come up with this, embrace the technology, and can't wait to see and hear about how this grows in the future. So
Yeah, of course. Let me know if you want to see the product directly. I'd be happy to show you how it connects into OwnerRez. So I'm excited
that's
that
awesome.
you're a part of that as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, a couple other questions. Kind of a selfish question for myself and other short-term owner property owners as well. But obviously, a lot of folks use Airbnb, Verbo, the various other ones. And I know it can be sometimes area specific, and if your concentration of what you're managing is mainly in San Diego, it may be specific to that. But some of these other ones that you mentioned, where are you guys getting the majority of your bookings? Are they still on those two platforms? But is there one that's coming up, or it seems to be coming up, that is surprising you that it's growing as quick as it is?
Yeah. So our current structure is, I would say we have about, I want to say 70 to 75% Airbnb bookings. And I think that has actually declined. Oh, I would say the percentage of Airbnb bookings has declined over the past couple years. I would say a few years ago, maybe it was 95%. Now we would say 70 to 75%. What we've seen really increasing is booking.com. So if you're using a property management system, booking.com has become really popular. They're putting a lot of marketing out there. You'll see their commercials all over the place. I would say as a guest, it provides little to no value as far as like which platform you book. So whether it's booking.com, whether it's Verbo, whether it's Airbnb, I would say you're relatively getting about the same experience, but there's room for everybody in that space. And I think there are definitely some companies that have come into the market trying to get traction, and they haven't been able to get it. But I would say booking.com is definitely one that I've seen increase a lot over the past 2 years. Beforehand, we weren't having any booking.com bookings. And then we opened it up to those reservations, and we've seen a lot of those come in. Verbo is actually decreasing a little bit for us. We didn't love dealing with the Verbo customer service and just their platform in general. So it's been fine for us just to kind of have that decrease a little bit. And then booking.com has been fine to deal with. So, it's a give and take sometimes with these different channels. But I think the market's always changing, and Airbnb is consistently improving their product. So I think that they'll be definitely the top of the game for the most part for the years to come. And one thing that I've done with my company is just create a direct booking website through our property management system. And we've seen up to 10% average in certain months for guests who are booking through direct, which is great because they save money by not paying the booking fees from the channels. And then we get returning guests, which is great. So every time somebody stays with us, we say, thank you so much for staying with us. We'd love for you to join our loyalty program. Just provide us with your confirmation code and we'll add you into the system. And then next time they're looking to book, they're already added in. They can use our direct booking platform and book direct with us. And a lot of people really like that. If they stayed with you before and they enjoyed it, they want to be able to know that they're getting a consistent experience, the same, guest experience, guest support, and they're saving as much money as possible too. So that's what's worked for us.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I've heard good stuff about booking.com, and we ran into a little bit of a snag there just with property like address verification. Like we send something out. I don't know where our mail goes at that particular property, but it's not anywhere close. It's not like I can just go check the mail and stuff.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, we got a couple initial bookings, and then because the address wasn't verified, it doesn't work right on there. But that's not what this is about. So it just throwing that out there. So
yeah, I think each platform has its little issues that you got to work through, and if you're somebody who has a team of other people that can help you with those things, then you're lucky. So I would say dealing with those myself, getting on the phone and calling these channels is not easy. Usually don't talk to anybody who really fully understands, like the reasoning behind some of their policies. It's usually just someone who's trying to, give you that support, but they're like, all right, well, we'll process this and consider it. We'll send you an email, and like, it's hard to get through to somebody who really, like connects with you on those platforms. But it is what it is. It's sort of like a dependency that us hosts have on the channels. So until we can do full direct bookings, we'll have to continue to go through Airbnb and Vrbo and Booking.com.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Well, Jay, this has been really cool, man. Really neat journey that you had. Congratulations first on, just building up, the property management company to where it is, but really then diving into a totally new thing with the AI and the software. Great job there. So appreciate you being on the Wealth Flow. I do have a couple other questions for you, but before we go to that, if you could just let people know, how can they find out more about you? How can they find out more about your property management, the Host Buddy AI? Where can they find you?
If you're interested in Host Buddy AI, you can visit hostbuddy.ai is the domain. So that's how you find us online. We have basically an instant booking link there, so you can schedule a demo with us if you're interested in the product. I'd be happy to run you through the product for you on my end. So that's how you reach us for Host Buddy AI. We're on social media as well. You can just search Host Buddy. My name is Jay Ullrich. You can find me on social media as well. And for my property management business, it's selectstays.net. So all of my links are on social media. If you just search JAYT Ullrich is my Instagram handle. So everything's there.
Great. Sounds good, Jay. And then 2 questions that I ask every guest. One would just be, any advice you might give somebody who's just starting out in their investment journey.
Yeah, I would say the best experience you're going to get is just by being involved and just starting that journey. Obviously, there's value to doing your research and making sure that you're making the right investment. But the biggest thing for me and the most learning that I experienced was just by getting involved. And luckily for me, my particular industry was, lower barrier of entry, and I didn't have to fork over hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to make my investment. But regardless of your industry, I would say the most learning you're going to get is just by doing it and getting involved and making your mistakes and trying to problem solve through, your own experiences, because until you experience it yourself, you won't really know what it feels like to, have that investment. So that's the biggest thing that I would say. Those first 8 or 9 months of my business, I learned so much. If I was running my business the same way that I was when I first started, it would not exist. So, everyone's got to start somewhere.
That's right. Yeah. There's no substitute really for getting in there and doing it. And you learn along the way, you make adjustments. And so I think that's great advice. Jay, how about a book recommendation? Doesn't have to be real estate related, but certainly can be, but just something that you've read recently that's been impactful.
Yeah. There's a couple. I would say one really important one that I didn't read recently, but I read it a couple years ago and made a big difference in my company and how we operated. It was called Who Not How. And I can't remember the author. I know it's definitely popular within at least the real estate space and short-term rentals. A lot of people talk about just creating your business in a way where like you don't have to be the solution for everything. Going to other people who might specialize in these things more than you do, freeing up your own time, finding people who can, take that responsibility for you, and getting out of your own way was really important for us. So when I read that book, we had one virtual assistant that we had already hired for our team. And up until then, we were essentially doing everything for our business. So we were doing the cleanings, and we were doing the guest support and the channel management and the pricing and all that. And implementing these automation tools is great. But then when it comes to, scaling and finding the right people, it's really, that comes down to who you know and not how you do it. And I'm finding that more and more every day. The more people I talk to and the more networking I do, the more value I get out of my business. And you can kind of give and take that within whatever industry you're in. If you give value, you're always going to get it out as well. Is what I believe. So.
Yeah, no, it's a great book for sure. Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan, I think, are the ones that have that, along with some other great books. So, All right. Well, fantastic, Jay. Well, I appreciate it. This has been great. And thank you so much for being on the Wealth Club.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Keith. I appreciate it.
Being that you're still here, I trust you found value in this episode. I personally wish I would have known these guests and strategies when I started my wealth creation journey. Go to wealthflow.capital to subscribe to our newsletter. And as a free gift, we will send you our quarterly market report and the top 10 things to look for in an investment opportunity. Take a minute to give our show a rating and review. Help us reach 1 million professionals by subscribing and sharing this episode with someone you know who could also find value in it.